Hi, this is a presentation of the Prelude Hybrid IDS installation. I'll perform this installation on a virtual machine, a Fedora Linux machine. So to start with, Prelude is an excellent product for information security professionals because it allows you to install and operate a hybrid IDS. Hybrid meaning it is a host-based system as well as a network IDS. So of course in a host-based system you have access to things like log files, file changes, whereas in a network IDS you have access to looking at the packets that are sent through and then creating alerts, security intrusion alerts out of those. Prelude is going to have a number of components. The first one is the manager that receives and saves events. Then there is libdb, which is the database module where we will store events. Then there is a correlation module, and it helps you to correlate events between network events and host events. Then there is the LML, or log monitoring module, and this module allows you to install sensors on multiple systems and then send the various events from log files onto the centralized manager system. Finally, the prewikka system is the open source web graphical user interface. So to take a quick look at the architecture of Prelude, basically we can have a number of sensors set up on different devices, network devices, operating systems, servers, and then we can send all the events having to do with changes on the host. You can send all those events to the Prelude Manager server. Now, one of those sensors can be Snort, and Snort, of course, is going to look at the network events and help us to understand if there are patterns that might be, in fact, intrusion attempts. Finally, there's a database behind the scenes. In this presentation, I will use the MySQL database, and there's a prewikka web GUI, and there is actually a way to attach to this database and show events, not through the prewikka HTTPD, but through an actual Apache server all on its own. So let's get started with our installation, and the first thing that we have to do is we have to install some operating systems libraries. So I will install through the yum utility the libprelude, then the libprelude-python, libprelude-db, libprelude-db-mysql, libprelude-python, oh I guess I have that twice, that doesn't hurt anything, then prelude-manager-db-plugin, and then the prewikka GUI. I'll also install the correlator, the notify agent, which can send out simple mail transfer protocol notifications, and we'll also install the MySQL clients, MySQL libraries, and mysql-server. I will include this yum statement in the description of the presentation that we can just copy and paste. And if you already have some of these libraries, they'll basically just reinstall. Okay, so as this is installing, after our package installation, we're going to do some configuration of the Prelude system. Because the Prelude Manager is central to our installation, it will be important to select an IP address that the sensors can all connect to. For my presentation, I will use the 2.127.0.0.1. So this is going to be my IP address. On your system, it might be a different IP address, but it's very important that as you configure all the elements that the IP addresses are in order. Otherwise, you will not see events in your Prelude graphical user interface. Okay, so let's get started by opening the global.conf file under etc prelude and then default global. This is going to be a configuration file that is included by many other programs. So this global file, as well as other files inside of the etc prelude default, it's important that we keep the configuration straight here, and that way all the other elements are going to work just fine. Okay, so let's go ahead and start here by let's see. Let's start by looking for the database area in the config file. Let's come down here to, I might have missed it. Node address, heartbeat. Let's see. All right, so this one does not have a database. That's fine. So let's change the node name, and so my node name here is going to be something that I'll just come up with. My IDS, and then the location. We're going to select Michigan. Okay, so with this information in place, let's see, this is fine. Let's go ahead and put the address, and in the address we'll go ahead and put 127.0.0.1. All right. So with this in place, let's go ahead and close this file. Now let's see what other files we have here. We have also the client.conf. Let's open this file, and here we need to specify where the manager system is going to run. And so by default here we already have configured the 127.0.0.1 address, and that's great. Let's see the other settings here. They look fine. Let's go ahead and select normal for TLS options. And so this is going to enable security between the clients. In this instance, I'm going to use the Prelude-LML for log file monitoring. Okay, so with those two files configured, I'm going to go ahead and save the file. Okay, so at this point, let's look at another config file, and this time it's going to be Prelude Manager configuration file. And you can see that it includes the global configuration file that we just configured, and that's where we configured the address. Now this is going to listen on port 127.0.0.1, and that's fine. Let's go ahead and continue through the config. Alright, this looks fine, and so all these options are already configured. We're going to uncomment the TLS options so that it matches the client config file. Alright, let's save that. So we have these two files configured. Now let's go ahead and create the actual database part of our setup. So again, when we look at the architecture, we are working right now on the Prelude Manager server, and there are three config files that we're interested in: the Prelude Manager, the clients, and the global config file. But now let's look at the database. And for the database part, we're going to go ahead and first of all turn on the database if you have not done so yet. And this is done by saying etc init.d start. In fact, let's go ahead and do a restart. That way it'll stop the database and start it up again. So first of all, we have to create a new database. A number of ways to do that. One way to do that, if you're logged in as root, we can just say mysql admin create prelude. So the name of the database here is going to be called that will be Prelude. Next, I'm going to create a user which can actually connect to the database. Now, I could keep connecting as the root user without a password, and as you harden the system, you want to make sure that you set password on the root account, that you are setting passwords, unique strong passwords on all the accounts. I'm using a new installation of Fedora here, so as the MySQL service is installed, the root account does not have a password on the database, so I can just issue MySQL and it'll log in automatically. It'll do that only from the local host, so it's saved that way. But now to create a new user, we're going to say grant all privileges on Prelude. So that's going to be the name of the user. Prelude star to Prelude, and this user is going to be logging in from the local host, and we'll go ahead and say here identify by, I'm going to use Prelude as my password. You of course want to use something different, Prelude. So this creates the user. Next, it's time to actually populate the database. And we populate the database by using the MySQL client user Prelude, and then the database called Prelude, and we'll go ahead and use file under share libprelude-db classic and then MySQL. So this is going to create the database that we are going to use. And so now should be prompted for password. Let's see, access denied for user. Okay, so this is going to work in a couple of ways. I can prompt for password, or if I actually deleted both of these, it would work as well, because then I will be populating the database as the root user. So I'll type in Prelude here. And so now the database is populated. We can look at this database, show databases. If I say use Prelude and then show tables, I can see that I have all kinds of tables here in the database. I could investigate them one by one. Alright, so with this database in place, we are ready to create the Prelude Manager user. And this is done with the command prelude-admin. And now we're going to specify add prelude manager UID0 GID0. And so now we are generating private key, public key, and moving my cursor so that there is some activity on the GUI, which actually helps to create a random activity. Let's see here. Alright, and so we're back. Alright, so with this installed, we should be able to start up our Prelude Manager. Let's try that. Let's see init.d prelude manager start. Alright, well, that didn't work as well as expected. So let's look at what's going on. Var log messages. And so it's saying that SE Linux is preventing manager from loading. Okay, so SE Linux is a great product, and we can work out how this security wrapper is needs to be configured for Prelude. But what I will do is temporarily I will turn off SE Linux. I'll say set and force 0, and this actually makes SE Linux the additional layer of security on this Linux host temporarily to be disabled. Alright, let's try to start up the manager, and there it is. The manager is running, but it's complaining that there's an invalid option under address in global section. So let's see if we can fix that. Etc prelude default global address. Okay, so we have to also uncomment the header. That way the system makes sense of what property belongs to which statement. Alright, great. So now the manager is running. With the manager running, we will go ahead and register our LML sensor. To do that, we're going to use two screens. So the way we register sensors, it's just not enough just to start a sensor. You actually have to let the admin, the manager system know registration time is on, and then on the client you have to start up the registration program, and when they both communicate. So that's why I have two windows here, and one of them is the client and one of them is going to be the server. So the upper window is going to be the server and the lower one will be the client. Okay, so let's go ahead and start the registration. Alright, so we're going to say prelude admin, and we'll say register prelude-LML IDMEF. Okay, so IDMEF is an intrusion detection message exchange format. So this is a format to define data so that we can have an exchange of with information when it comes to intrusion detection systems. There was an RFC 4765 that defined how this XML file needs to look like so that these security systems can exchange information about alerts. So that's what we're doing here. So we'll say IDMEF write admin R, and we'll say 127.0.0.1 and UID 0 GID 0. Now we'll go ahead and run this. Alright, and so momentarily this is going to again create an RSA key. Alright, in the other window we're going to put in prelude admin registration server prelude manager. Alright, and so this is going to say it's now waiting for the peer. Alright, now let's see. Okay, so now we have a password that was generated, and we have to go ahead and copy or type in this password. Let's do that. Alright, so copy this, and we'll go ahead and paste that in, and paste that in. And so now we have to approve this registration. Again, I'm doing this all on one system, but this would be on multiple servers, and you'd be working on two different network devices here. So we say yes to approve, and so now authentication was succeeded, and we successfully registered this particular sensor. Right. So before we start the sensor, we need to edit some information here. Okay, prelude. Oh, let's see. It doesn't seem that I installed it. So let's try to do this. Yum installed prelude-LML. I installed the manager, but apparently I did not install the prelude-LML. So we need to edit. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and go back to my notes, and now we need to install this. I had Prelude Manager twice. No, I had Prelude-Python twice. libprelude-python. So we only needed one time. And then at the end, I will add Prelude-LML. That way you're not going to have to go through this step as I just did. Prelude-LML. Perfect. Alright, so that's installed. So now let's go ahead and look at the config file that we need to modify here. So prelude-lml.conf, and to start with, it's going to try to import IDMEF client config file, which is fine. And we're going to uncomment both the header, right, prelude, and then the property. Finally, let's go down to the section where we have syslog files. So here's varlog messages. We could actually add here varlog secure, for example, and this would be done this way, and secure, and that way you would be monitoring multiple log files. Other log files are here as well. With this in place, what I will do here is I'll just go ahead and save the file. So that's Prelude-LML. Okay, so let's go ahead and give it a whirl. Let's start Prelude-LML. Start. And now we have the manager running. Let's take a look at what we have running. We have the manager running. We have the Prelude LML, so log monitoring system running. And now we just need to get some kind of a GUI for us to see. And so let's get prewikka to work. And so with prewikka, we also need to go ahead and create a database in the database. So we'll say MySQL admin create prewikka. Okay, and now we're going to say let's go ahead and log into the database and grant all privileges on prewikka, on all the tables there, to prewikka, and this is going to be also on local host. And so now we created a new database user, and we'll just say identified by, and I'll use prelude as the password as I did before. Okay, with this in place, we need to now create tables in the prewikka database. User share prewikka database MySQL. And so now the database is populated. If we were to take a peek at it, show databases, use prewikka, show tables, and there it is, the prewikka tables. Alright, perfect. So let's go ahead now and configure prewikka, and let's go to prewikka config file, and let's see what we need to change here. We probably have to let the system know alright, how we log into the database. So there are two databases that we're working with. Alright, let me take a short break here. No, actually I think we're still fine. I'm just looking at my battery life. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the first database. The first database is the Prelude database, and so incidentally the username and password do agree. This is the database with all the events. That's the database that the manager writes to. And then this database is the local database that we created for the GUI to connect to. And so I just need to change the username. I think I gave the user here name prewikka. and that's fine. So now we can connect to both databases, and let's see, let's save that. Right, is that what I issued here a moment ago? Where's my grant statement? Grant privilege, yeah, so prewikka was the username that I created. Okay, so let's try that now. Let's go ahead and start prewikka. Prewikka will be under user sbin prewikka. There we go. I could provide here port, actually, so options. I can provide here a port, and so let's say port 8000, and then the address to listen on, maybe like localhost. All right. So now prewikka is running, and what I need to do is I need to go to localhost 8000. The initial user and password that prewikka creates out of that MySQL SQL commands that we imported would be admin, and password is the same as the username admin. And so now I am logged in. Okay, what I am not seeing so far, let's see, there's a couple of things. First, I'm not seeing any events, and then second, I'm not seeing agents. So let's see what happened here. Let me go back to the Prelude Manager, and I think there is a database section. There we go. So I have not done that yet. We'll go ahead and have the manager have access to the database of type MySQL, and it's going to be on localhost on this port, and the name of the database Prelude, users Prelude, password happens to be Prelude as well. Okay, let's close that and see what happens next. We have to restart likely the Prelude Manager. Restart. Okay, so with Manager being restarted, and hopefully it has now access to the database. Okay, so now we have that Michigan single agent, and let's see what I'll do is I'll try to create a few security issues, maybe by trying to log in as root and providing the wrong password. Let's see what happens if I do that. I'm just providing the wrong password. This likely would generate interest in terms of events. Alright, so at this point I don't see any events being generated. And let's see why this might be. Let's do tail on var log messages. And so let's see. And so, okay, so I don't see those security messages actually being entered in etc messages. What I may want to do is I may want to also monitor a different file. Let's see. I'm editing right now the log monitoring config file, and instead of just looking at the messages file, let me go ahead and include the secure log file. So if I go var log secure here, I see these security issues. So let's now restart the Prelude-LML. Alright, and let's see if this is gathering. There it is. So it's gathering the issues, and so I have two problems with users trying to log in as root. So if I was to do something different, maybe like SSH root at localhost and provide some credentials that are incorrect. Alright, with this in place, I can then maybe try to log in as another user that does not exist. And again, we'll provide credentials. And end. Okay. Now if I go back and look at events, I should have a few more. All these events at this point are coming from log files. And again, these log files could be located on multiple machines out there. And notice how well this system is grouping the events. So that way, as you look at maybe on a single system for the root account, 1,000 attempts, you're not looking at 1,000 rows. You're going to look at a single row. Of course, in statistics, there are different graphs that we can look at as far as what issues we're struggling with, and all of those are generated on the fly by this very useful and well-working hybrid, because it's a host and it can be a network IDS if we connect Snort to it. Okay, well that's all I have in terms of installing Prelude and some of those log file complications, but I hope it's useful to you. Thank you very much.